Why don't we start with the Lakers? Did anybody else notice just how delusional the Lakerland vibes were yesterday? And I don't mean just Laker fan. I mean essentially everybody. Almost anybody and everybody suddenly was all in on the Brick Show. All of a sudden, the Brick Show went from the purple and gold Titanic to everybody's favorite team and the new trendy pick in the West. Never mind that they're still on the outside looking in and don't even have a spot in the play-in yet. It's weird. Weird and all wrong. And Laker fan should have known so much better. Laker fan should have hit pause and thought it all through for a second. But then again, we are talking about Laker fan, aren't we? And Laker fan was always going to do what Laker fan does. Get immediately swept up in the hype and buy all the way back in. And based on what? One pretty exciting game. Next thing you know, they're all right back on the bandwagon, as only Laker fan can. Now, on some level, I do kind of understand it. It has been a miserable couple of years. Even if LeBron says that they are not a failure. Has there ever been a take that aged worse than that? Last season was not a failure at all. I mean, it was, Bron. It was the biggest failure ever. Like, that take in and of itself gets worse every single day. Last season absolutely was a failure, and this season it hasn't been much better. So I get where people want to be hyped about that win in Dallas. You know, you start to convince yourselves that the roster is different. We got rid of Westbrook. We came back on a Dallas team for the biggest comeback of the year. You know, maybe it is different. A legitimately exciting comeback win over Kyrie, Luka Song, and the Mavs. And say this. I'll give you this. The Lakers are a better team than they were about a month ago. Then again, what does that even mean? That's not saying much, because a month ago they were essentially a disgrace to their sport. Yes, the roster is better since they got rid of the energy vampire Russell Westbrook. And they did actually add some useful pieces. But then again, after you hit rock bottom, there is nowhere to go but up. And as soon as the final buzzer hit on Sunday, everybody started falling all over themselves to declare the Lakers to be the proverbial problem and the team that you do not want to face in the playoffs. Never mind that they're not in the playoffs, but you don't want to run to them in the playoffs. Now, don't get this part of it twisted. I was not the one puking up any of that nonsense, but Laker fan was, Hot Take Nation was, because that's what Hot Take Nation does. Puke out a bunch of nonsense to get you to look at them and react to them. But thinking the Lakers were suddenly a threat to anyone or anything after coming back on the choking Mavs was a mirage. It was fool's gold. It was bullcrap. But hot takers gonna hot take. Laker honk, gonna honk. I present to you Exhibit A. On this very show yesterday, Laker honk extraordinaire, speaking for all of Laker honk nation, V in the fee.
Do you hear that, Shaquille O'Neal? No, that's not the sound of Jack Savage before he snapped somebody's neck, or Rit on the toilet, or Albie when he thought about bringing back the ladies line. No, that's the sound of my Lakers breathing down the neck of the rest of the Western Conference, because we're coming for that 6th seed and run the table in the playoffs. Oh, my goodness, there's hope back in Lakerland.
Ultimate Laker honk, speaking for all of Laker honk nation. V in the fee. You want to talk about a premature celebration. V's crappy phone line, crapping out, was either a really bad omen or just his cell phone protesting its owner's take, or maybe V's phone was just trying to save V from himself. Because, of course, only hours after that phone call, in less than 24 hours after the epic comeback in Dallas, Woj dropped a bomb and sobered up all of Lakerland when he dropped the news that all of Lakerland should have already known was coming, should have already seen coming. LeBron is now feared to be out indefinitely. Now feared to be out several weeks with that right foot injury that he suffered during that Mavs game. All together now, Laker Honk Nation. Lakerland and all their hype and excitement seem to completely forget that LeBron got hurt Sunday night. Remember how he returned to the bench and told the bench he heard a pop? And remember how we actually, because we're wired, had live audio of the pop and his subsequent reaction? Do you remember that? Alvin, can you play it back for those who missed it? That's how that sounded on the floor. Alvin, one more time, if you don't mind. If you listen very carefully, you'll hear a pop and then a scream. A pop and a scream. That sounded painful. Now, to his credit, my man was able to grind through the rest of the game. I mean, that took some grit. That took some heart. LeFib, LeGM, my man's tough. I mean, listen to the way the pop sounds. And then the reaction. And yet he finished it. Except now that pop is going to cost him multiple games and maybe even multiple weeks. He's definitely out tonight against Memphis. And the fear right now is that he could miss an extended period of time. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is he's going to miss a chunk of these so-called most important games of his regular season career. Not my words, his. Remember, he made a point of saying that. These are the most important regular season games. The last 23 games are the most important regular season games of my career. He said as much over the All-Star weekend in Salt Lake City. So that was the plan. He said it. And then after that, he said, quote, I'm going to figure out ways to make sure I'm available and on the floor for every single one of these 23 games. His intention, his plan, he said it. I'm going to find a way to be there for all 23 games. Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't last very long.
I don't like that call.
He was staring at the alleged. Hell, he said it himself. Nothing alleged about it. He was staring at 23 of the most important regular season games of his career. His plan was to play in every single one of them, and he made it through 2. Even AD saying that he wanted to play in all 82 games is laughing at that.
AD, what's good, baby?
Oh, by the way, AD, it's all on you now. Have fun, big fella. It's all on you now, dude. It's all on you. You know, you're the guy that they were going to hand the torch to anyway when LeGM finally did step down, assuming you were still there. It's all on you, baby. What's good, baby? What's good, AD?
AD, what's good, baby?
It's all on you. You got to get that entire
AD,
franchise
good,
in the city
baby?
on your back, AD. So, obviously, terrible timing. The worst break. And it comes immediately after the first glimpse of hope in the last 2 years. And because of this, and because I don't trust AD to get the rest of them on his back, they're going to miss the playoffs again, right? They just are. If he's out, if LeBron is out for any extended period, they are going to miss the playoffs again. And when they do, just know this. The season still will not be a failure. How do I know that? Why do I say that? Because I know LeBron will have it locked and loaded the second they're mathematically eliminated. Am I wrong? And I don't want to hear that LeGM or anybody else has bad luck. You know, in a lot of ways, you make your own luck and you make your own bad luck. Like when you let LeGM put together an extremely awkward, ill-fitting, ineffective roster, and then you wait until the absolute last second to do anything about that roster, and then you put it all in the last 23 games of the season to make some miraculous run, and you count on a guy who, as amazing as he is 38, right, with like 38 million miles on his odometer, don't be surprised when you hear a pop and then a scream. This should be of no surprise to anybody. This is what you get when you put everything on your two superstars that are too fragile to carry the team over the stretch of a long season and then be there and be available at the end. The only thing that will be surprising about seeing LeBron in street clothes tonight is that it won't be street clothes in street clothes tonight.
Anthony Street Clothes Davis.
The Lakers needed everything to go right in the final 23-game stretch of the season, and it turns out they couldn't even make it through 2 games. And Laker fan couldn't even enjoy 24 hours of hope. So maybe next time you wait until the team is even in a playoff spot before you start spouting off about the Lake Show being back, baby.
Because we coming for that 6th seed and run the table in the playoffs. Oh, my goodness, there's hope back in Lakerland. Finally.
I mean, V, I don't want to talk you out of being V, but come on, man. LeBron is putting up a miraculous fight against Father Time. I'll give him that. He really is. Except FT is still undefeated.